Chris.
And I'm Amanda.
And this is Family Magic Weekly, where we compose the music that ultimately becomes the dance that is your vacation.
Yep.
What do you think?
One day. This week we are shifting gears a little bit and talking about how do you get to Disney with children. We have done it both ways, and we want to compare and maybe help you decide.
And by both ways we mean we have flown and we've driven.
I guess that would help.
Yeah, you could bike or take a train.
You could take a train. I've done that too.
Or cruise. I guess you could cruise down there.
Okay, so we have both driven and we have flown with William to Disney. So there are definite pros and cons to both.
Mm-hmm.
And when you listen to this and factor in what we've talked about, keep in mind that we are talking as a family that is traveling from New Jersey.
Right.
So a lot of that factors into the fact that when we talk about driving, we're talking about 16 hours without stopping.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're talking about a plane, we're talking about 2 hours.
Right.
So depending on where you are, that's going to be completely different.
Yeah.
So and we know that there's a lot of people in our area that do both,
Mm-hmm.
that they fly and they drive. And actually we had two separate groups of friends that headed to Disney this weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and one was in the car and the other one was checking in the airport.
But as you know, it's a whole different ball game when you have kids.
Exactly.
It's a lot more things to consider and a lot more things that end up becoming, positive, depending on how you look at it or depending on how you want to do your vacation. We're not necessarily going to say one way is the right way or the wrong way. These are just the things that we consider when we're doing that. This isn't a list. These are not the top 10. These are just sort of comparisons. First off, with driving, we drove for one of our longer trips. We drove down there. We left at 7:00 at night on a Friday. Was it a Friday evening? Left on Friday.
Think so? Yeah.
At 7:00 at night, which was nice. That's one of the things, you can dictate your own schedule. If you want to leave at 7, you can sort of you can dictate what sort of map out what time you're going to arrive there, depending on what time you leave your home. The other part of that is you can change it at the last minute. If you're driving down in January and they're anticipating snow, you can hit, in your area, you can hit the road earlier, try and beat the weather, and get out of the danger zone. If you're on a plane, you just kind of have to sweat it out, hoping that your flight's not going to get canceled or go through the nightmare of trying to reschedule a flight. So you really have the ability to, sort of control your entire journey.
One of the nice things about the time that we left, Chris said we left at 7:00 at night, was we kind of were able to leisurely pack the car.
Mm-hmm.
I just picked up some hoagies for dinner, and we hopped in the car about an hour and a half before William's bedtime. We had him in his pajamas, all of the things that he takes to bed with him, but in his car seat. And we rolled out and headed straight to Starbucks.
Mm-hmm.
And hit the road, and we live right outside the Philadelphia area. About the time we hit the tunnels in Baltimore, William started to fall asleep, and it worked out perfect for us.
You could read him a bedtime story, or we were able to read him a bedtime story and try to replicate some level of normalcy to his regular routine. Obviously, you're not going to get that done, to a T, but, any sort of, things you can pull out of the routine, some familiarity with a child that's 2 years old, is going to make all the difference, or could make all the difference.
I think with it being our first trip with our son, hoped for the best but anticipated the worst.
Mm-hmm.
But we will say that we were very fortunate that, like we said, he fell asleep in Baltimore and didn't wake up until wake up till 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, we were in Georgia.
Georgia, yeah. Which is something that we were like, yay, until we got to Georgia. and got out of the car for breakfast, and he had soaked through his diaper. We were cleaning a car seat and a child in the McDonald's parking lot in Georgia. So there's something we need to troubleshoot for next time.
Yeah, you live and learn.
But that being said, we tried to take advantage of the fact that he was sleeping, and we just kept going.
And in diapers.
Yeah.
Which we took too much advantage of.
Right. But Chris took the first leg when we started driving, and he drove until was it just before? It was just before south of the border.
It was around 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Which was too long. I mean, I was fine. I'd stopped right to get gas. I picked up a 5-hour energy or a coffee drink. Like, it wasn't too long in the sense that it was a dangerous amount of time to drive. But it was just, I don't know. I think we're making good time thing sort of took over my head. And I just didn't want to, once you get going, for me, you just kind of don't want to stop driving until you can't anymore. And then I started to realize that, hey, you know what, it's 4 a.m., well, you could be getting up at any time now. I should probably try to get some sleep before he gets up. So that's actually why we did the switch.
Yeah. So then after the switch, I drove all the way to the resort from there, which it worked out. I don't think either one of us were able to sleep on the car ride.
On and off. You slept a little bit, I thought.
I think I was in and out. You were getting kicked by a 2-year-old by the time
That's true.
You were switching over.
Oh, I was hearing his toys endlessly.
Yeah. Decided to drive for that trip was because we were going for 10 days, and we wanted to take things with us that a lot of them were probably unnecessary to take because the resorts do offer them for you, like the pack and play.
But we weren't sure.
It was more of a germ thing for me.
Yeah, but I mean, we also weren't sure what we would really truly need.
Right. So
it was our first time really going away for an extended period of time with our son.
Packed like we were moving.
So yeah, we probably overpacked.
Yeah, we took and we took everything. We took the monitor, the night light, like we took everything with us. The things that a lot of people rent in the parks, we threw in the car.
Yeah.
Bought a cargo bag, shoved it on the roof, but it worked out.
You're not beholden to Disney transportation when you drive. You're not. You don't have to worry about running to catch the bus. You may have to walk a distance to your car, pick up a tram, but you don't have to. You leave when you want to leave. And that being said, you're not limited by Disney transportation when it comes to. Walt Disney transportation does a really good job. It's one of the things we have listed as a plus for the plane is that you don't have to think about transportation. Where it fails is you can't. You're staying at Contemporary and you have a dinner reservation at Coronado Springs. Good luck getting there.
Yeah. You'll most likely have to transfer.
Yeah.
At a park
go to
or
a park or
transportation center.
Transportation center or Disney Springs.
Yeah.
And then walk your way over to the Coronado Springs bus and then wait for their bus and get there. So you really kind of if you have a reservation, you really want to factor in about an hour.
Yeah.
An hour, maybe even a little more to get where you need to go. Some people use Uber now.
Yes.
Which is Uber's a viable option. However, that adds up, and then when you're dealing with strollers and all sorts of other things, if you're coming from, depending on where you're going afterwards, if you're going to go to a park, you have to concern yourself with that. If you have a car, you can just get in your car and go. You tell them at the gate of the resort, hey, I have a dinner reservation here at this resort. They put the gate up, they let you in. It's a lot easier
If you are a DVC member, you can valet park for free as well.
That's true.
If you have the receipt from the restaurant that you're eating at.
Yes.
Like if you are a DVC member and you are going to eat at Chico, you can valet pull up.
Is that just for DVC members?
I believe so.
Oh.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Not positive.
I'll put that down here.
Okay. What I will say was what I found in just a priceless factor was the fact that we planned our trip in September with the mindset that we didn't want to be folding a stroller on and off and getting on and off the bus.
Mm-hmm.
So we planned our resorts based on the parks, and then you can easily get between the monorail and your feet where we were staying. You could easily get to Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Magic Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
However, way over here is Animal Kingdom. So when we wanted to go to Animal Kingdom, that's when we used the car. And if you have ever stepped out the door with a small child, you know all the things that you have to take with you.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we could easily have that in the car, if we needed a change of clothes, if we needed extra formula, any of that kind of thing, that kind of stuff, we could keep it in the car instead of carrying it all into the park with us. And if
proved to be invaluable.
we could keep a cooler with bottled water and food. We could, instead of carrying it around all day, we could just stop back at the car, which was just so much easier than having to run back to the room, because running back to the room is like an hour-long process.
Right.
So that's definitely something.
Yeah, there's no running back to the room. Maybe at Disneyland, but not Disney World.
Yeah. So definitely something to consider.
Yeah. You also have the ease of going off-site. If you want to go to Universal, if you want to go to SeaWorld, if you want to go to Legoland, you have Uber's options there. But again, all the reasons that make transportation between the resorts or between the parks on site that much easier makes it even that much easier when you go to leave the parks. You can also, if you got to run to Walmart, you run to Walmart. If you want to dine somewhere outside of the parks, if you're interested in leaving the Disney ecosystem for a day or two, definitely there's a positive there. Driving, we tried to leave the parks both having flown and driving, and it was much easier when we drove. Uber wasn't too much of a thing when we tried to do it without a car, and we had to take a bus service.
We took Mears
bus service, and then you're waiting for those buses.
Yeah.
Now that being said, we've flown as well. And that's not to say that flying doesn't have its positives. First of all, you get there quicker. That being said, when you're in the car or when you're on a plane, your kids are always susceptible to an epic meltdown. It's easier to deal with when you're driving. However, depending on where you live, multiple hours and hours and hours and hours in a car, you're more likely to eventually have to deal with one. When you're flying, the meltdown is a much more feared thing because there's no escaping it and there's no way to get out of it. I always look at flying with a young child as kind of like robbing a bank. Sure, it would be a lot. Sure, you could make money working, but it would take a long, long time to make money that way. So if you do decide to rob a bank, you have to know that once you're in it, if things go south, there's no escape. You just have to keep going. It's true. Once you're on that plane, if your kid loses it, that's, some people call that that's a come to Jesus moment. You just have to.
Now, yes.
There's no escaping it. There's nowhere to go.
Chris has flown with William once.
Yeah.
Once round trip, so 2 flights.
Yeah. It's like a hostage negotiate. You're negotiating with a hostage taker the entire time.
And at that time,
you don't want them to lose it.
He was just over 2 years old. I've flown with him round trip 3 times. The youngest of was being 6 months. And so I can say that, if you're flying with an infant, like William was at 6 months, major suggestion is if you are a baby wearer, do that. I traveled with him alone, and I didn't take a stroller, I didn't take a car seat, I just strapped him in, and I didn't even have to take him off to go through security, which a lot of people don't know. They just have you walk through the handicap section, and they do like a hand swab and send you on your way. It was so easy. Fortunately, I was visiting family, so on the receiving end, they had the stroller and the car seat that I needed, so that was something to take into consideration. Then you had, I did a lot of research and prep in the beginning, so we had made sure that there was, he had a binky, he had a bottle. At 6 months old, he was eating applesauce, so I was trying to feed him something during takeoff and landing for his ears, and we had one bad situation where his ears were really bothering him, and he just screamed and screamed and screamed. And I know a lot of people say, bring candy and hand it out to the people around you, and this might be really mean of me, but I think it happens. Most people who've traveled with children have been in that situation. So, I was more focused on William than the people around me,
Right.
who most were very understanding.
Yeah.
When we traveled with William together, we were going to Disney. He was, like we said, just over 2 years old, and we learned some very important lessons that we were not prepared for in traveling with a 2-year-old.
It's very easy for a 2-year-old to get an airplane seatbelt off.
Yes. Click.
Yeah.
They like to stand up and play with those little knobs and buttons in the seat and push the call button and turn around and say hi to the people around them.
We had good people behind us.
Yes.
That that were okay with that.
Well, advantage to a flight to Disney.
Yeah, when it's a flight to Orlando, you're going to have a lot more kids, so it's not as. And it's for us. It was 2 hours. It's 2 hours, so you're like, all right, you know what? We can hold it together for 2 hours. And normally you hope you can, but again, like I said,
it was stressful. It was very stressful.
The robbery goes wrong if the teller doesn't cooperate.
And our flight home from that trip was late at night. We had him in his pajamas. We had his stuffed animals all lined up. We had his blanket, and we tried so hard to get him to fall asleep on that flight, and he wasn't having it. And he fell asleep, 3 minutes before we landed?
Right after we began our descent, he dealt with a little ear drama, and then fell asleep.
Yep. And then Mommy carried him through the entire airport.
So it could have gone worse.
Yeah.
It definitely could have gone worse.
So lessons learned from those 2 flights. I recently had to take a flight out to visit family again, this time for a funeral. And I went with William by myself because Audrey was a newborn, a newborn. So Chris stayed home with her, and after knowing what flying to Disney was like, I tried to troubleshoot a little bit, and I actually carried his car seat with me because I knew that all the family was from out of town. No one was going to have a car seat with them, so I needed to bring one anyway. And even standing at the gate, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the car seat. If I wanted to check it or stick it in the seat, which a lot of people don't realize you can do.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
You can, you have to make sure, most car seats are FAA approved, but you can check your car seat, and if you don't know, they can check it for you at the airport and let you know. So his was approved. It just has to be the seat closest to the window. I snapped his car seat in, which is so much easier than installing it in a car. Snapped it in while the nicest attendant ever occupied William. And I strapped him in, and it was so much less stressful than our trip to Disney. I definitely suggest, even if you don't need a car seat when you get there, if you're going to fly with a antsy 2-year-old, take the car seat.
Yeah, particularly on a longer flight.
Yeah. It was a godsend. After chasing him through the airport literally chasing him through the airport because waiting for a plane he was not wanting to wait. I needed that, and he watched a movie and fell asleep in the car seat, and it was great.
Which, chasing him through the airport reminds me of another bonus positive of taking a plane. It's more fun for kids. Like they ride in the car every day. You're not going to get a kid very excited about a 12-hour or an 18-hour or a 2-day car ride. But if you tell them they're going to go on an airplane, they might get a little more excited about it. Depending on how you are as an adult, a plane or a car might be anxiety for you. I get a little anxious when taking a plane sometimes. But for kids, it's another ride. You get off in Orlando, you take the little monorail they have, and then you get on the Magical Express, which is fun for them too. Can sort of be convenient and a positive for taking a plane also for adults. You don't have to schlep your bags around. They're sort of there waiting for you. It's not, it's not a concern. Actually, one of the most stressful parts of our trip to Disney with him was actually that Magical Express ride, though. There's the logistical call of, do you give a 2-year-old their own seat on a bus, or do you let them sit on your lap? You think you have very little leg room on a plane? Wait till you get on the Magical Express. The Magical Express, for many is a benefit for taking a plane. It's something you might want to consider.
In the car, it was a lot easier with William being in a diaper that we didn't have. It wasn't a hostage situation with his bladder. But we've already discussed that next time we go, he's going to be potty trained, and we're going to have to be prepared for, Daddy, I have to go to the bathroom, and I have to go to the bathroom now.
Yeah.
And if you're on 95 and the next exit's in 15 miles, what do you do?
Yeah.
So that's definitely something to consider. And changing a diaper on a plane is also a very interesting task.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I've actually been on a plane with William that they had a changing table in the bathroom.
Yeah.
It was a fancy new plane, but William was terrified of it. I will say that.
They're very loud. They're loud. The bathrooms in a plane are very loud.
Yeah.
That was almost, I think you were like outside the plane,
Yeah.
like in a tarp.
Cold and drafty,
Yeah.
but at the same token, William is also afraid of all the bathrooms in Disney, baby care centers.
Yeah.
Definitely something to consider, which I don't think we put a lot of thought into because we never crossed that potty training.
No.
It never crossed our mind. But now that we're in the potty training phase, it's something that we need to consider next time. And
yeah. So that's really it. That's kind of what we have to say about this at this point about a car versus a plane. What are we going to decide to do with 2 kids? We're at this point we're leaning more towards a car, taking our van. But we'll see. We'll cross that bridge as we get closer to our trip in January of 2018. What are your thoughts? What are you deciding to do for your next trip, or what have you done in the past? Is there any positives to either one or negatives to either one that we didn't come up with? Let us know in the comment section of the video, or tweet us, or write to us on Facebook.
And if you're in our area or anywhere like the DC area, Virginia area, if you've ever taken the auto train, I would be very interested to know what you think. If you don't know what the auto train is, it's a straight shot from Virginia to Florida, and you put your car on the train and you have dinner, watch a movie, go to bed, wake up and you're there, which I've done before. I loved it. I don't think Chris has any interest in trying.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's quick enough.
But if you've done that, I'd love to hear what you thought of it.
So look for us on Family Magic Weekly on Facebook, Family Magic WKLY on Twitter, Family Magic Weekly on Instagram, and Family Magic Weekly on Pinterest. Is it?
Yeah, on Pinterest, I'm putting together a whole entire folder. What it is, a printed board. There we go. All about travel tips. Versus what to bring with you on a plane, how to pack the car. A lot of things that I found very helpful when we were planning our trips.
There you go.
So check it out.
Yeah, look out for that. We're also www.familymagicweekly.com. Thanks for watching this video.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See you next week.
be careful.